And we are live, coming to you from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of American flyover country. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, talking tonight about the most serious of topics. So let's try to be respectful. Let's try to remain on point, and let's try to keep things between the lines in the chat room, because this is a very important subject. It's a subject that, frankly, I'd rather not have to talk about. But if I don't, who will? So it's time to talk about this. It's time to hit this, and it's time to expose the darkest secret. The darkest secret, ladies and gentlemen, in Christianity, the darkest secret in Roman Catholicism, the darkest secret in Roman Protestantism, the darkest secret, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's not an aberration. It is a religious sacrament. You ask yourself, why is nothing done in over 2,000 years of a church in regards to ritualistic child abuse and probably worse? Well, there's a reason why nothing's done, because I'm convinced it's not an aberration. It is a religious sacrament of the Roman Catholic and the Roman Protestant churches. And we're going to delve into it, but this is going to take us a while. This is something that is going to be painstakingly, and I do mean painstakingly, gone through. It's going to be painstakingly looked at, and it's going to be painstakingly proven, ladies and gentlemen. And then once we prove that Roman Catholicism and Roman Protestantism are all about ritualistic child abuse and worse, we'll go on to prove that those that support these systems by believing in the end time eschatology, I know it seems like a stretch, but they're connected and they come from the same source, and you're supporting all of this when you support the end time eschatology scenario, either by teaching it, believing it, or espousing it. Scott Shutt, Diana Reeves, She Said It, E-Mind 80, Diana Reeves, Amanda B, nice to see you down under, Rocky Stucci, the emotional meatball checking in, Shut Up, Tracy Dyer, Moonlight Herbalist, Jason, Chris, Lit T, Caroline, Nancy, Loquita, Janice, Richard, Valerie, Carol, Gordon, Deb, Joyce, Tess, Planetary. I'm skipping over a bunch of people as it's filling in. It's too many for me to keep up with now. Mark Center Saint, good to see you again. It seems like it's been a minute. Gravity Storm, Mary, Charlie, D'Angelo. We'll know we'll have some good comments. Mary, Karen, Dwayne, Charla, Chris, Lady Firebird. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be very, very systematically approached. And if you want to know this, one of the source books that I'm using, it's this one right here. It's called Original Sin, Ritual Child Rape and the Church by Dr. D.C.A. Hillman. So there's the book if you want to get it. And please don't continually ask in the chat room, what's the book? What's the book? What's the book? Just go back. It'll be here. Original Sin, Ritual Child Rape and the Church, Dr. D.C.A. Hillman. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the name of the book. And let's talk now about what this book says. And I'm going to add some insight from my own experience as well. As we said, ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning, child abuse within the Roman Catholic and the Roman Protestant churches is not an aberration. It's institutional. I'll go so far as to say that ritualistic child abuse and worse within the Roman Catholic Church is as integral to the religion as is the Eucharist and the communion. The concept of ritual child abuse and worse is as integral to Roman Catholicism and Roman Protestantism as the idea of salvation. Ritual rape of young boys, and in some cases girls, but ritual rape of young boys and girls has been part of the church since the very beginning. And I believe I'm going to take a step past this book and go into the scriptures themselves as we move along. And I will prove to you that not only is ritual rape of young children a sacrament of the Roman Catholic and Roman Protestant churches, so is ritual child sacrifice. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, ritual child sacrifice. Not only is it a part of the church, but child rape and child sacrifice are a foundational component of Christianity. And don't think it's just the Roman Catholic version. It's also the Roman Protestant version. Even the breakoffs from Roman Protestantism, such as the Mormon Church, they say they're not going to be called Mormons anymore, so I'll say that as much as I can. The Mormon Church also has a growing, ticking time bomb issue of child sexual abuse within the Mormon Church, specifically the Utah Church of Latter-day Saint Church, and some of their offshoots throughout the West have already been busted for ritualistic child abuse. So it goes throughout all types of Christianity. Now, I was 20 years a Christian minister. I've got a Bible college degree. I have 100,000 hours of study within the Christian scriptures, the Bible. So I have a sneaky feeling it also happens in Judaism, but I don't know because I've never practiced Judaism. I know that it goes back to the very beginning with the God of Judaism. I know the God of Judaism, the one that calls himself Yahweh, called for and accepted ritual child sacrifice. I know that. And if the God that started Judaism did it, then there's a good chance that Judaism does it as well. I'm not a Muslim. I don't know anything about Islam comparatively, but I know the God that started Islam called for and accepted ritual child sacrifice. So I've got to believe that it's probably part and parcel of Islam. We know that the mistreatment of women is part of Islam. We know that the mistreatment of women is part of Roman Catholicism and Roman Protestantism, if you believe the doctrines and the teachings of Paul. So ritual abuse of boys and girls and women is at the core, ladies and gentlemen, of Roman Catholicism and Roman Protestantism. And I suspect it's at the core of all of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, both branches of Christianity and all its offshoots, as well as Islam. That's my belief. Now, where did it start, ladies and gentlemen? It started in a place that is seemingly, I can't think of the right word right now, seeming like it doesn't mean that much, like it doesn't matter that much. And it's something that we still say. And by saying it, we are even entrenching and empowering these that perpetrated it. It started off with the concept and the invention, really, of the word pagan. And if you listen to people that are Christians today, people that are Bible thumping, Bible believers, people that got great big Bibles, bigger than the size of their head, people like that, you know, those people, they will still throw that term around. Oh, that's pagan. They're pagans. Do you know what that word means in its original usage? It basically means the same thing as hillbilly. It basically means the same thing as redneck. And it really means the same thing as the N-word that we won't use, because we can't use that one. We can say honky, but we can't say the N-word, and I'm not going to fight that battle right now. But it means the same thing. It's a pejorative. And for those of you that are new to the channel, pejorative means demeaning. If you call somebody a redneck, that's pejorative because you're putting them down. If you call somebody a hillbilly, that's pejorative because you're putting them down. So in its original usage, the word pagan was a pejorative. It was a putting down of people. And that's where it all started. And think about it, ladies and gentlemen. And Rocky Stucci of the Situation Room with Rocky Stucci is well aware of this. This is where it all starts, even still today. It all starts with the name calling. It all starts with, oh, they're conspiracy theorists. They're fake news. It all starts with the name calling. And the first name calling by the dominant paradigm that made people lesser than was the term goyim is hugely pejorative. Are you kidding, Tony? Of course, goyim is pejorative. The first pejorative was pagan. And what that meant was that was when Christians, ladies and gentlemen, you would apply it to those that were not Christian. Christians would apply it to those that were not Christian. And let me tell you something right now. If you're in this chat room and you're a hardcore Christian and you're trying to attack another religion to cover up for you, you won't last here very long, because if one of our great crack moderators don't get you, I will. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to comment in the comment section, but you better not suck and you better have a take, and you better be willing to take as well as give, because if you enter into the forum of ideas, I do reserve the right to rhetorically eviscerate you, especially if you're rude. So as Jim Rome says, come strong to the mic, have a take, and don't suck. And then there's just some people that are too childish to even be here. But pagan was the first word, the first pejorative. Like some rocket scientist just said, you're gay. And it's funny because the pejoratives and the name calling comes from a mind that's run out of ideas to actually engage with. So you got to take it from the source. You got to consider the source. But the first word was pagan, and that meant everybody that wasn't Christian. Christianity's growing. Christianity's increasing in power. Christianity's increasing in control. But some people just won't play ball. They just won't play ball. So they get called pagans. They get called pagans. And automatically calling somebody a pagan is like automatically calling them an alt-right. Calling somebody a pagan is like calling them a deplorable. Calling somebody a pagan is like calling them white supremacist. Calling them a pagan is like calling them a hater. It immediately minimizes people. And what they were upset with, the reason pagan came is because they were not Christians. It was a pejorative. And this is going to surprise you, ladies and gentlemen, but it's part of the historical record, and it is what it is. So I have to report it. The way they went after pagans and the correlation to modern times is really staggering. One of the reasons they went after pagans was because of their use of mind-altering substances in spiritual practice. One of the things they used to go after pagans, those people that weren't Christians because they're too stupid, those people that weren't Christians because they're not smart as us, those people that aren't Christians because they're not as pretty as us and as refined as us, those people that don't want to serve our little g fallen God, the pagans were typically, a lot of them, using ritualistic medicines, ritualistic substances in their spiritual practice. Mind-altering substances in their spiritual practices. They were using practices, hello, Alana Dawn. They were using substances that helped them get into a place of worship. It was called fumigation. Let me just tell you about it a little bit. The temples, just like the Jewish temple, by the way, think of that one, were built as enclosed places. And the places of worship were even more enclosed. And there would be incense burning, and it wasn't just sandalwood, ladies and gentlemen. there was incense burning that, when breathed in, would help facilitate a worshipful experience within the temple. And not being able to come against the pagans on any moral grounds, they were good people, they were fine people, they were supporting people, they were the leaders of society, but they wouldn't give in to Christianity. They went after them on the basis of A, they weren't Christian, and B, they were using drugs. They were using drugs, ladies and gentlemen. And it was in the 4th century that the first drug laws were put on the books. If you remember, Constantine made Christianity the official religion of Rome in about 320. So in about 80 years, the space of a generation, Christianity was able to gain enough sway politically to put laws on the books to criminalize the use of medicines, mind-altering substances in spiritual practice. Now, this did a couple things. One, it allowed you to put people in jail. If you were caught using these mind-altering substances that the Christian-backed governments wouldn't let you use, you were put in jail. And remember, these were most of the leaders of society. Most of the upper crust were still pagan. And when you got put into jail, guess what? Your assets got seized. So sit back and think about it. You're the Johnny-come-lately religion, mainly the religion of the common people, mainly the religion, frankly, of the lower class. That's what Christianity was. And these rich merchants that are still in control of the means of production, that are still in control of most of the money, that are still in control of most of the educational institutions, that are still in control of most of the cultural institutions, they start catching them using drugs, quote unquote, and then they put them in jail and they seize their assets. And guess who gets the assets? The church gets the assets. They teach you in history that, oh, the Catholics just came in and turned the temples of the pagan gods into temples and churches to the saints. Well, they did, but they left out the part that they stole the stuff from people by making up laws that didn't exist and putting people in jail and taking all their stuff. Just like God's chosen people marched into the promised land and took it over from people that were already there. That's the Christian template. Take other people's stuff. It's probably because Christianity lacks the creativity to make anything on its own. How about that? And I just saw this. So we're going to, boom. Hope I got the right person. Oh, shoot. I think I got the wrong one. I think I banned Amanda. Sorry, Amanda. Unhide user on this channel. I meant to hide on this channel this stupid Tevi McTreg piece of shit. Oh, did I say that out loud or did I think it? Okay. Bye-bye. So being able to do that allowed the church to grow in power and in prestige and in wealth, ladies and gentlemen. And in wealth. Somebody unhide Amanda if I didn't mean to do it, if I didn't do it. There was a philosopher named Porphyry, and he wrote a book around 400 AD called Against Christians. And he wrote this in 400 AD, but it could be about today. He said that Christians seek riches and glory. They are renegades that want to seize control. That's what they've always been. That's what they'll always be. And as a result, pagan worship went underground, ladies and gentlemen. People weren't able to worship the way they wanted to openly anymore, and it went underground. And folks, do you know that this is the very first time, 400 AD, 400 years after the supposed death of Christ, 400 years. We've had, how long? There's been civilization for how long? No drug laws. There had been civilization for how long? No drug laws. The first drug laws came about 400 AD, and they came to stop people from using mind-altering substances in religious practice. And I have to share this with you because it's fascinating. I remember some years ago, I was in Washington, D.C., and I happened to be there. I went to a hockey game, and then we went to the monuments, and I was in the Lincoln Memorial, probably 2 a.m. I was in the Lincoln Memorial about 2 in the morning, and I sat there looking at that statue, and I thought to myself, now I can understand how these pagans could worship these statues. I thought I understood, but I didn't understand, because the reality of it is there's a reason why they put those statues in there. And I'm not saying the Lincoln Memorial, but think about the great statue of Diana standing in the Acropolis. And if you want to, you can search this channel. And I took you to the remarkable copy of it in Nashville, Tennessee, including the great big statue. And if you look at those things and the way they were constructed, they weren't meant to just be statues. They weren't for people to worship statues. These people weren't stupid. Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, they weren't stupid. And they weren't worshiping statues. Here's what would happen. You'd go into the temple, you would breathe in the sacramental medicines that were being burned, and you would enter into an altered state of worship, and the statues would speak to you. You actually entered into a place of intellectual intercourse with the gods and goddesses that were portrayed in the temple. They had out-of-body spiritual experiences and interacted with the gods themselves. That's what the Christians were really against, because they know that at the best of times, you're really not going to get much contact with the Christian God. And if you do, he's an asshole and you won't like him. But these people were going into the temples and were having profound spiritual interactions with these gods and goddesses. And what that was teaching people was that, ooh, there's something more than this meat suit. There's something more than what I see. There's something inside me that when it gets outside me, it's bigger than me. And that's the real secret that Christianity used the drug laws and used the pejorative pagan diminishing of other people, because Christianity cannot survive when people realize they're divine. Christianity cannot survive when people realize they're sovereign. Christianity cannot survive when people realize they're free. Christianity cannot survive when people realize that there's a lot more gods out there than this puny little pipsqueak, jealous, vengeful, wrathful, lying, baby-killing piece of shit God that we've been serving for 2,000 years. There's some pretty good gods out there. There's some pretty cool gods. There's some pretty decent gods. A lot better than this little bitch called Yahweh. And I'm sorry we're going not sufficient for work here, but that's okay. Not safe for work. And what they really don't want people to figure out is, wait a second. I like Diana. I like Artemis. I like Danu. I like Odin. I like all these things. But you know what? I'm divine. I'm sovereign. I'm free. I'm just like them. They just know a little more than I do. That's what they really don't want you to discover. Like Jesus said, you're a god. You're a goddess. And that's what this whole thing is really all about. And at the end of the day, as we get into it, this is what ritual sexual abuse of children is about, is extinguishing and blocking that divine spark. Spirit Art says the crap gods are very nervous. We are waking. The crap ones are nervous, but the cool ones are like, whoa, finally, these guys are waking up. I'm telling you, there's some gods out there that want to work with us to depose this little puny god that's running the show, and he may have already turned tail and fled, and somebody's running in his stead. Some of these gods are excited that we're finally waking up. Some of them are saying, damn, we used these guys for a long time, but now they're waking up. We better make an agreement with them, because that's the way it is. And there's gods that are listening to this. Some of the gods, and yeah, you've been using us for a long time, and we know it. But it's like the Fram oil filter man. You can pay us now or you can pay us later. I hate to sound like George W. Bush, but you can either be with us or you can be against us. We're rising up. We're realizing that we're the next generation of new gods. We're going to go Psalm 82. We realize that we've been messing up, and we're going to take this place over, and we're going to return it to the way it's supposed to be. And we'd like your help because you've been here longer than we have, and you know how to do some things we don't know how to do. We'd like to do it with you, but we're perfectly willing to do it without you as well. So we'll have a summit of the gods, and we hope that you'll work with us. But if you don't, we'll do it without you, and it won't end well for you. And you know that I'm speaking the truth because you guys have been scared of us for thousands of years, but now the gig is up. So I ask, as we close this session and get ready for the next one, what would have happened if these drug laws and this diminishing of people hadn't happened around 400 AD? Well, number one, our prisons wouldn't be full of people that have done little more than smoke some dope. And I don't smoke any dope. I don't drink a drop of alcohol. I don't smoke no dope. I don't do any of that stuff. Alcohol makes me sick. I don't know about the weed and stuff. It's just not my gig. So I'm not a guy that's a pothead. I'm not going to get off this show and hit a bong. That's just not me. But I'm also not a person that can ignore history. What would have happened? How much better would our world have been if we hadn't succumbed to this power play by Christian politicians? And folks, it's going on the same thing right here, right now. When you got the Secretary of State of the United States of America saying that Donald Trump might have been raised up to protect another nation, you got a guy that believes in biblical prophecy this close to the big red button. Wow. I don't agree with DUI should be banished. Are you a dummy, Quantum Waves? DUI should be banished? You want to get high or get drunk or get shrooned up and get behind the wheel? Let's just somebody find out who that is and let's just put them in jail now before they kill somebody. Don't be stupid. See, this is a problem. This is the problem right here. Unsophistication, like Quantum Waves X. DUI should be banished. I should be allowed to get behind the wheel drunk and stoned and high and debilitated so I can kill people. You idiot. DUI should be banished. No, it shouldn't be banished. But we shouldn't be putting people in jail for smoking weed or smoking mushrooms. And we never would have got to this place if we'd have been able to keep contacting the spirits and the gods. So anyway, I don't hit the bong before or after the show. Smarty pants. And guess what the next target was? Having targeted the pagans and their ritualistic drug usage, next, they went after the practices of sacred sexuality. And that's next in our series on the darkest secret. It's not an aberration. It is a religious sacrament. Tomorrow night, right here on this channel, 9 p.m. Central, Jay Campbell will be back for another installment of The Last Stand. Wednesday night, it'll be my pleasure to welcome the one, the only, Joseph Atwell, author of Caesar's Messiah, will be on this program for the first of 2 shows. I'm also going to be welcoming, and I can't remember her name, Sonia Barnett, I believe. Been on Coast to Coast AM, on Gaia. Very talented researcher and speaker. I believe we're going to talk about the business of, what's it called? The business of sickness. It's really good stuff. Stay tuned for more of that. Of course, as we have been promising, Rocky Stucci coming on for at least a monthly show, maybe more. Trying to get back in touch with Carrie Berner, the ex-Catholic nun. Definitely looking forward to that. Thursday night, Consequential Rapscallions, live broadcast from LeakCon coming up. Lots of great stuff going on, ladies and gentlemen. You never know what you're going to get when you come to the Christian Whistleblower program, but you know it's going to be wall-to-wall, treetop tall, pedal to the metal, locked and loaded. I'm here for a very few reasons. Number 1, help you guide your own spirit. Number 2, help you master your own ascension. Number 3, help you be your own guru. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are the last generation of real humans, and we're the next generation of new gods. We're the American gods and the Australian gods and the South African gods and the gods that as are represented across the globe and in this rapidly growing audience. And I salute all of you for being here, seeking after truth. If you think I'm dangerous, you better subscribe to this channel so you can keep an eye on me. If you think I'm bringing some good information, you better subscribe to this channel so you don't miss anything. And on the way out, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Let your voice be known. Since you're the next generation of new gods, it's time to start asking questions. It's time to start questioning answers. It's time to start unindoctrinating yourself.